In District 4, that one's more difficult because I'm endorsing Zein Obagi, who is not the incumbent. John Gran is the incumbent. And I've been up there for 4 years. John's a nice guy. Nothing personal. I just think Zein, from a policy perspective, is head and shoulders above John. Zein, he's a very accomplished lawyer, downtown trial attorney. He represents employees who've been discriminated against, sexual harassment cases, things like that. He's got his own successful law firm. He's married to a physician. They have a daughter, 4-year-old daughter, Eve. Sorry, 4-month-old daughter, Eve. And Zein's not a newcomer. I keep hearing that Zein's a newcomer. No, Zein was at the city council meeting in 2012 arguing against the rebuilding of the AS power plant. That's when I first met Zein, because I was on the council at the town. He was running for Congress. And he saw what was going on, and it didn't take him long to figure out that, we shouldn't have a new power plant on our waterfront. That was in 2012. That was 8 years ago. And then a year later, Zein, there he is, arguing before the Energy Commission in Redondo Beach not to allow a permit for construction of a new power plant in Redondo Beach. So Zein is not new. Zein knows Redondo issues, and he knows them well. And he's got a vision for Redondo Beach as well. So really, really looking forward to having Zein up there. He wants to slow cars. I was talking to him earlier today. He wants to slow cars through the neighborhoods, like on Grant Avenue. He sees how dangerous Grant Avenue is. He wants to slow things down on Grant, Aviation Boulevard. Those are kind of nuts and bolts kind of stuff that's important. But he also wants to see Artesia Boulevard as a thriving part of North Redondo Beach. He thinks Artesia Boulevard should be, like Riviera Village. It should be the thriving North Redondo Riviera Village. And I like that vision. He's then followed closely the Artesia Aviation Boulevard corridor planning, which has been going on, and had some great ideas. So Zein, really, in my mind, is just from many, many standpoints, whether from a professional standpoint or a vision standpoint, and he's just a great, fresh perspective on what needs to happen down there. Why would I not endorse an incumbent? Well, I was disappointed on several levels with John Gran. I guess the most important one was what happened with the Galleria. And, the Galleria was approved, say in 2018, January 2018. It's the largest project ever approved in the history of Redondo Beach, 1.6 million square feet. And our planning commission approved it in one night. In one night, our planning commission approved the largest project in the history of Redondo Beach. That is unheard of. We have projects much smaller than that go through numerous meetings. As you can imagine, the documents involved in a project of that size and that scale was tremendous and required a lot of review, a lot of questions to be answered, needed a lot of public input. And our planning commission approved it in one night. Very disappointed. The only thing that happened and even came close to doing a proper analysis was Rolf Strutzenberg, who was on the planning commission, who's now running for school board, who I strongly endorse for school board, Rolf Curtis Strutzenberg. He's running for school board. I endorse him as well. He made the motion just to continue the hearing for one night, and nobody seconded his motion to even continue the hearing. And the planning commission went on to approve it. I guess it was 6-1. And that was going to be it. That was going to be it. They had gotten hardly any concessions at all out of the developer for the largest project ever in the history of Redondo Beach. It's just unheard of. And I myself was astonished. And so what happened? Well, guess what? This Redondo resident by the name of Doug Boswell filed an appeal. Thank God for Doug Boswell. That's all I can say. Thank the Lord for Doug Boswell. Because if he had not filed that appeal to the city council, that project would have stood as is. But because of Doug Boswell's appeal, we got a lot of concessions out of QIC, which is the owner of the mall and is doing the redevelopment and bought it from Forest City, who owned the previous mall. What did we get out of QIC by going to the city council? We got $2 million for Artesia Boulevard. $2 extra million for upgrades on Artesia Boulevard. Who do we get that from? That was from Councilmember Nils Nierenheim in District 1. That was his idea, right? So just in the meeting, because of the hearing, They agreed to provide $2 extra million for upgrades on Artesia Boulevard. What else did they do? They agreed to up the affordable housing component in the 300-unit apartment building from 10% to 20%. Again, these two things are because of the appeal by Doug Boswell. What else did they give the city council that we requested? They gave us another acre of open space in the mall. They gave us a skate park. They reduced the amount of parcelization of the actual project area. That's no small feat. They were trying to break it up into 50-some different pieces, which would have made it impossible going forward for a comprehensive redevelopment that we were looking for if they broke it up into pieces and sold it off. So they agreed as a concession to approval of the project to reduce that parcelization back to what it was to 20-something. So because of Doug Boswell's appeal, we got all these concessions from the Galleria, and we were able to approve the project unanimously. Where was John Grant on that? I don't know. He actually gave Doug Boswell a hard time at the city council hearing, asking him if he had read a staff report, and he was clearly displeased with the fact that this appeal of the biggest project in Redondo Beach had come before the council. John didn't ask for any of those concessions as a condition of approval, and it's in his district. So frankly, I was just astonished at all this, that here's the largest project in the history of Redondo Beach going up in Councilmember Grand's district, and he's upset that it's been appealed. When in reality, thank God for Doug Boswell that he did appeal it and should have been thanking Doug Boswell himself. But instead, he just sat back and watched as myself and others and then Councilmember Nierenheim get these concessions as approval, condition of approval for the project. So that was very, very disappointing. And then when it came for my appointments to the various commissions, and who could be more qualified to be on the Planning Commission after that than Doug Boswell, John Grant blocks the appointment of Doug Boswell to the Planning Commission for some other reasons. I have no idea. But I want to thank Doug Boswell again. Can't thank him enough for what we got as conditions of approval for the Galleria project, and for him rallying some people behind the scenes as well to be able to file that appeal on time. And I just don't understand why John Grant to this day isn't thanking Doug Boswell for doing that. John Grant should have filed that appeal. I've appealed projects before, wasn't even in my district. And John Grant could have filed that appeal, and he did not. So it just told me that he was, kind of just going along with staff and not willing to challenge what staff was bringing forward. The other thing disappointing about John Grant is he stopped the quote for LA County Fire and misrepresented what we were trying to do. We were not trying to go to LA County Fire. We were trying to get a quote from LA County Fire for what they would charge us for if they took over our fire services. This was not a vote to go to LA County Fire. And it was only another $17,000. We had set aside the money. They'd come forward with a preliminary estimate that they could save us $4 to $7 million, I think it was a year, in costs and provide better services to Redondo Beach if they took over our fire services like they had done in Hermosa, and LA County Fire does the entire Palos Verdes Peninsula and a lot of other cities. So it was certainly worth getting a quote to have them come in and analyze what's going on in our fire department, how they could save us money doing things differently, and we could learn from that. John Grant blocked that. The last minute, it was all set, and he shows up, some spreadsheet and some blue folder item at the last second. Next thing you know, the quote's killed, and we're not moving it forward. Again, this was not to go to LA County Fire, and that was the other thing. He faced a recall over this because the firemen were so disappointed and so upset. They started a recall campaign because our own fire personnel wanted to know what the county ideas were. So somehow John Grant decided on his own that this was not going to pay for the city, and changed his vote, and we ended up not even ever even hearing from the county. We didn't even get the county to come down and us be able to question them about the various savings they said they were going to provide us or what they would do differently. The other thing LA County Fire provides is a stroke unit. And for some reason, I still can't get our fire services to start looking at how we can contract with LA County Fire to get the stroke unit. What's the stroke unit? It's a special vehicle, and when somebody has a stroke, shows up, they've got a CT scan in the vehicle, and a neuroradiologist on the other line looking at the CT scan while the person is having a stroke. So I've spoke with people in the stroke unit. They said they save a life a weekend, roughly. It was the best estimate they could come up with. They don't get a lot of calls, but when they get a call, they save a life. And who has a stroke unit? Anybody with LA County Fire, as well as the city of Torrance, which has their own fire. And they have a contract with LA County Fire. So when I was talking to the stroke unit in Torrance, I said, well, if you get a call from Redondo, are you going to Redondo? Go, nope. Nope. Stroke unit doesn't go to Redondo Beach. Why not? Well, you don't have a contract with us, and you're not LA County Fire. So, these are the kind of things and questions that could get answered if we went through and followed through with that fire quote. Now, firemen went around trying to recall him. I didn't think it was recall worthy, and I said that, and John used that when he was trying to fend off the recall, and that's fine. But now that there's an election up, and I look at these other things, like the fire quote, like what happened at the Galleria, the blocking my appointments to the commissions and things like that, and really not being out front and demonstrating the ability to do work outside of what's brought to him by our staff. I'm supporting Zein Obagi, and I hope Zein wins, and I hope he's able to convince the residents. It's a campaign season to give him a shot, and I hope the residents will just look at him and consider him as an option, and not just vote for the incumbent, because things are pretty good. John's not a bad guy. I like John. He's done some good things, but I think Zein's a great alternative moving forward.